滂沱的黑夜手一盏孤灯。
The reported quantity of storage of some grain depots in mainland China has been found to be fabricated. The Rural Development Institute of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences noted by 2025, China may have a gap of 130 million tons in food supplies, of which the gap in grain supplies will be about 25 million. When coming down to individuals, the food shortage may be close to 200 caddies. In Sichuan, the provincial government sent text messages to residents to encourage them to store food supplies. This was said to have caused great panic among the local people. The slogan in the picture reads, "There's no grain from abroad to import, so hurry up tilling and planting." Someone said, due to the pandemic, many foreign companies have moved out of China. At present, China's banking industry has approved too many loans and people have very few deposits. Data released by the China Banking Regulatory Commission shows that the four major banks face a funding gap of more than 5 trillion in the next 4 years. Perhaps because of this, starting from the 10th of this month, individuals in Shenzhen and Zhejiang who deposit and withdraw more than 200,000 yuan need to provide information such as the source of deposits for withdrawal purposes. Someone said, "My request to transfer 50,000 yuan via online banking was rejected." This table illustrates the potential situation of various industries and enterprises in China as of September 15th of 2019. It was said that China already became the world's largest debtor nation. Its accumulated foreign debt is close to 2 trillion US dollars, which is equivalent to nearly 14 trillion yuan. It was said that these debts do not include the liabilities of various local governments. Someone introduced the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, offered 87 loans in 4.5 years, with a total amount of 19.6 billion US dollars, of which India is the AIIB's largest loan customer. It received 2 loans from the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank to deal with the pandemic, totaling US dollars of 1.25 billion. Infrastructure project loans, India has borrowed a total of 4.15 billion US dollars from the Asian Bank. India's second loan was issued at the time of the Sino-India border conflict. Therefore, someone concluded, India's military expenditure was essentially provided by Beijing. Someone said not only that, Beijing planned to purchase weapons from Russia, even though it had paid first. Russia sold the S-400 and 1,000 tanks to India. It is possible that the money India used to purchase weapons was the loan from the Asian Investment Bank. Someone said, don't forget, Beijing just sent over 10 billion to the Philippines 2 days ago with the goal to help resolve problems with Philippines' educational system. Someone said, last year or the year before, Evergrande Real Estate borrowed US dollar debt from overseas at high interest rates. Now there's rumors circulating that Evergrande is asking the Chinese government to help solve its debt problems. Otherwise, if the capital chain is broken, it will affect the stable employment of 3.31 million people. It was said that Evergrande's liabilities have reached more than 800 billion, with 128 financial institutions involved and 185.2 billion overseas bonds. In the picture is a Chinese delivery worker. People like him can be regarded as those living at the bottom of society, but the Chinese government calls them a demographic dividend. Someone said the number of express deliveries again reflects that the mainland economy is indeed not as good as before. The experience of this worker in the video also seems to reveal that behind the lack of human rights in Chinese society lies Beijing's red claws.
你是什么原因不让停车？开我就好。你说嘛，你说嘛，你说。影响交通。你告诉我你有什么权利？人民的权利。你告诉我。人民的权利。我下去取个餐不用2分钟。2分钟也不行，不能违停。人民的权利。你有什么权利锁上我？人民的权利。你告诉我。人民的权利。你告诉我，按照法律上来说，人民的权利。你有哪个权利是锁车？你不要告诉我说人民的权利。像你这样子处理人民的权利。
Someone said, how ironic is it that the property management officers locked the delivery worker's car but claim that they represent the people? Clearly, they have been brainwashed by the Chinese government. Someone said, in China, the Chinese people have the least rights. Compared with the hardworking delivery workers. This elderly man has his own RV with all his belongings. He can move freely without paying for rent, water, and electricity. It's just that in this seemingly free state, there is a sense of helplessness and desolation.
哎呀，可是好多年没看到这个了。可以的，你快慢慢的去走啊。好，注意安全哈。晓得，好。好，要得。
In Beijing's Haidian hot spring town, Han Peng's house has been demolished for 9 years, but no one provided compensation to make up for the losses. At 6 a.m. on October 1st, Han Peng's mother jumped off the building and passed away. Someone said, "I do not agree to resist the CCP in this way." Someone said, "October 1st is not China's national holiday. It is a day to commemorate and mourn for those that have suffered and are still suffering from the Chinese Communist regime." This is the latest slogan of the Chinese Communist Party. Children must be filial and support the elderly. Otherwise, if they push them to the government, their conduct would be completely shameful. Someone said it's confusing because the CCP's earlier slogan said that family planning is good and the government will care for the elderly. According to reports, the elderly lady in this video is Jiang Suifeng from Rui'an of Zhejiang province. She was born in 1907. She lived through the Qing dynasty, the Republic of China era, the People's Republic of China era. In fact, she has always been a Chinese person. Which country is her home country? Someone said it is clear that from the day of October 1st, 1949, when the Chinese Communist Party announced the establishment of the People's Republic of China, the Chinese people have been forced to kneel down. This is one of the CCP's recent propaganda posters. It says, "As a Chinese citizen, being patriotic is not a choice but an obligation, and more accurately, a righteous way to follow." Someone disagreed and said, "We should love ourselves and then our families. Those who claim to love the country and the party first have been brainwashed. Don't believe what the Chinese Communist Party says." Someone shared some of Mao's quotes on patriotism and said, "If a government is not elected by the people, what face does it have to represent this country? To love such a country is to betray the motherland." He also said, "Now when we talk about nationalism, whose country is that to love? It's Chiang Kai-shek's country. A country of a few people, let the few of them love it." Someone shared, "I used to live in a community in Shanghai where many people's children were born overseas, regardless of whether it was the second generation rich or the second generation of the powerful. They were holding passports from the US and Canada, but sent their kids to Shanghai's international schools and kindergarten. When their kids reached the age of going to elementary schools, they would send them abroad to study. It appears that only the ordinary people follow the CCP's call to be patriotic. Those with money and/or connections are a lot more practical." In fact, not all ordinary people are willing to be taken advantage of by Beijing. It was reported that recently some young people in mainland China refused to serve in the army and were fined 20,000 yuan. According to relevant provisions of the CCP's military service law, a fine of 20,000 yuan is just one of the many punishments. Refusal to serve in the military may be subject to joint penalties including not being able to participate in the recruitment examinations for public servants, public institutions, and state-owned enterprises, not being able to go through the procedures for going abroad, not being able to obtain a diploma, not being able to buy a house, not being able to ride airplanes, no bank loans, no social security services such as sponsorship, underwriting, and insurance. Someone said, "What's described here can only happen in communist China, as each form of punishment had no indication of even time limits." In fact, not only in mainland China, it is not so easy to gain freedom outside of China's border either. In the video, a CCP official is brainwashing students who are studying in Germany.
这儿的宿舍管理现在存在着一定的问题，这个问题你心里清楚。我要求的和德国人做的不一致、不匹配。我现在就问你们，你们是听谁的？
He said, "When what I asked for becomes inconsistent with what the Germans did, who do you listen to?"
听别人的，不听我的。OK， 那我说清楚啊，你高中毕不了业的时候，你之后想在德国干嘛，我不管。就即使你高中毕业了，你高中毕了业以后上大学，房屋需要做担保，
你现在不听我的话，那我没有办法帮你，因为你根本就不听我的话呀。说清楚了没有？我作为项目的最大的负责人，我管不了。我作为父母的监护人，我管不了，我只能管你。
He said, if you listen to others but not me, then let me make it clear that when you can't finish high school, I won't care about what you want to do in Germany. Even if you graduate from high school and go to university in the future, your housing needs to be secured. If you don't listen to me now, I can't help you then because you don't listen to me at all. Is it clear?
所谓的什么狗屁民主自由，那不是我们的东西，跟我们没有关系。不要跟我标榜什么民主什么自由，你生活在德国你也没有，你也享受不了，因为你是中国人。
The so-called democratic freedom is not our thing and has nothing to do with us. Don't talk about democracy or freedom with me. You don't have it even though you are living in Germany. You can't enjoy it because you are Chinese.
带着德国的民主自由回国，在国人眼里你浑身都是毛病，所以那不是什么好东西。不要跟我拿这个东西跟我在这讨价还价，不是我们的东西。
If you return home with German-style democracy and freedom, in the eyes of Chinese people, you're all sick. So this is not a good thing. Don't use this thing to bargain. Don't use this to bargain with me. This is not our thing.
这么多年了，我们亚洲哪个国家实行西方的民主自由了？不可能。我们接纳了这样的价值观，就等于彻彻尾尾的被他们给统治了，就是这样的。所以我们有我们自己的文化，坚持我们自己的文化很重要。
After so many years, which country in Asia had successfully Western-style democracy and freedom? Impossible. When we accept such values, we are completely ruled by them. So we have our own culture, and it is important that we stick to our own culture.
在这儿的目的就是为了学习，快乐的学习，健康的学习，然后能够高中毕业拿到好成绩，大学能够学到你想要学的知识，以后该干嘛干嘛。
Our purpose of coming here is to study happily and then be able to graduate from high school with good grades and to learn the knowledge that you want to learn in college. Then you will be done. Someone said this is a party branch meeting organized by the CCP's overseas student management staff in Germany, but the more I listen to it, the dizzier I feel. Someone said, I understand now. He said that the Chinese culture is a culture of slavery. The rich and powerful can enslave those who have no money nor power. Someone said, isn't this clearly threatening and brainwashing students? Why should they listen to him? Freedom is priceless. It is an inalienable human right. Someone said, the threats of the Chinese government officials further illustrate the necessity of distinguishing the CCP from China. Someone said, the so-called party branch is a brainwashing organization that erases individuals' independent thinking and forces them to follow the party line unconditionally and blindly.
Child, we will take you in. Child, we will bring you home. You'll be a flower that sees the spring. Soon a dove flying high.